The great failed romances of the 20th century. Someone's gotta show you how they went down. The great failed romances of the 20th century. You can learn the truth if you just stick around.
Welcome to the Great Failed Romances of the 20th Century. I'm singer-songwriter and historian Teddy Gray.
And I'm Marvin, So Teddy, what's going on today?
Today we'll be hearing the story of Marvin Gaye and Anna Gordy.
Ooh, well then let's get it on and get started. Thus concludes everything I know about Marvin Gaye.
When Marvin Gaye met Anna Gordy in 1960, he was merely one of the many aspiring young singers hoping to make it in the competitive world of Motown. After a difficult upbringing in which he was abused by his minister father and a brief stint in the Air Force, Marvin was eager to make a name for himself and felt that he had a talent for singing. Label owner Berry Gordy agreed and signed Marvin in 1961, which began one of the most legendary music careers of the 20th century.
But with such a large roster of artists, it was easy for Marvin to get lost in the shuffle, even with his talent. Because of this, he looked for different ways to get attention, and one of them was by flirting with Berry Gordy's sister, Anna.
What may have begun as a ploy to get more attention quickly blossomed into something real, and Anna and Marvin fell for each other as quickly as the narrators of those old love-struck Motown ditties. One interesting aspect of their relationship was that Marvin and Anna had a 17-year age difference.
Oh.
That's right, she was 17 years older than him.
Ah.
Marvin had a barely hidden Oedipal complex, and it made relationships difficult for him throughout his life. He once confessed that no woman ever looked as good to me as mother. Because of this, it makes sense that he would have gone after an older woman, and her being the sister of his boss was just a bonus.
After a 2-year courtship, the two married in 1963, just as Marvin was beginning to have some success on the pop charts. Many of his early hit singles were written for and dedicated to Anna. Songs such as Pride and Joy exhibit his deep feelings for his new wife, and began the trend of Marvin mining his personal life for artistic inspiration.
Within a few years, Marvin's relationship with both Anna and her brother was already growing volatile. Marvin would not only frequently get into arguments with Berry Gordy over the direction of his music, he would also get into arguments with Anna over the direction of their marriage. However, Berry Gordy didn't undervalue Marvin as an artist, because he realized that he was working with a genius. The problems that Marvin had with Anna, though, would prove to be a bit harder to solve.
Anna was reportedly physically and verbally abusive to her younger husband, although it didn't take long for him to start fighting back. Beyond this, rumors of infidelities cast a shadow of mistrust and resentment over their marriage. And given that Marvin was becoming one of the biggest singing sensations in the world at that time, it makes sense that perhaps he was starting to realize that the grass is greener, and certainly younger, elsewhere.
Of course, if the women were younger, they'd be harder for Marvin to compare to Mother. As you can see, our hero was in quite the quandary. Will he prevail? Let's find out.
Anna Gordy reportedly engaged in some affairs of her own, inspiring Marvin's 1968 hit, I Heard It Through the Grapevine. By the 1970s, not only had Marvin's relationship with Anna soured, but so had his feelings towards the poppier material that he had been required to sing over the last decade, and he made an artistic shift to more political and sonically groundbreaking material. This culminated in the 1971 masterpiece, What's Going On, which was recently ranked by Rolling Stone as the greatest album of all time.
While his relationship to Anna was on the rocks, it had not yet completely crumbled. She was even given a writing credit on the song God Is Love on the same album. Oh, so God is love, Anna, and not Marvin? Very telling.
By 1973, Marvin had fallen in love with 17-year-old Janice Hunter while working on the Let's Get It On album. It's reported that the title track was written about his new relationship. Understandably, Berry Gordy was not a big fan of the song, because best case scenario, it was a song about sleeping with his sister. Worst case, and the more likely scenario, it was about Marvin cheating on his sister with a 17-year-old.
He put that family through a lot. Because of this affair, Marvin and Anna legally separated the same year, and Anna filed for divorce in 1975. The settlement took over a year and a half to complete, finally being made public in 1977.
And that's when things got interesting.
You see, as part of the settlement of their divorce, Marvin agreed to pay $600,000 to Anna. Half of it would come from his advance from the record label for his upcoming album, and the other half would come from the record's royalties. Essentially, he had been tasked with making an album where the proceeds would be given almost entirely to his ex-wife, and he was given free rein to do whatever he wanted with it.
Initially, he planned to just knock out something half-assed and move on with his life, but since Marvin was an artist first and foremost, he found himself inspired as soon as he hit the studio, the subject matter of his divorce providing him with a burst of inspiration that would take him down dark directions not yet explored in his music.
The result was the 1977 album Hear My Dear, an 80-minute suite of songs written about his marriage and divorce to Anna Gordy, with numerous songs explicitly referencing their time together and the details of their relationship. For many, and especially for Anna, it was just too much.
The song I Met a Little Girl describes their courtship, whereas When Did I Stop Loving You, When Did You Stop Loving Me is about, well, you can probably guess from the title. Is That Enough is about Anna's reckless spending habits, and Anger shows Marvin working through some of his uglier feelings towards his ex-wife.
The album could have easily been a vicious, mean-spirited screed against his wife, and there are certainly uglier moments that feel uncomfortable in retrospect, but on the whole, Marvin chose to look at their marriage thoughtfully, shining a light on both of their perspectives, and never shying away from the fact that he once deeply loved Anna, even screaming her name in pain at the climax of track 9, Anna's song.
Anna, Anna, Anna.
Wow, that's a lot more generous than what I did with my last album, My Bitch of an Ex-Wife. Available in stores now.
In spite of, or more likely, because of these aspects, the album sold poorly and was ravaged by critics. Anna was reportedly mortified by what Marvin had put out into the world, even considering filing a privacy lawsuit in the aftermath.
However, the album has developed a cult following in the decades since its release, and many now view it as one of Marvin's best works, praising its honesty and beautiful vocals.
It would have been easy for Marvin to just churn something out to fulfill a contractual obligation, but instead he gave it his all, and for better or worse, it shows.
Marvin would eventually repair his relationship with Anna Gordy, and the two remained friends until he was tragically murdered by his father in 1984. Both she and Berry Gordy made numerous public statements detailing their love for him, both as an artist and a person, with Berry Gordy calling him perhaps the greatest singer of the century.
Above all, Marvin Gaye's life shows us that with the proper creativity and talent, even your lowest moments can be spun into beautiful art.
And 40 years later, artist Robin Thicke did almost the same thing with his album Paula, writing an album for and about the wife who had just divorced him. It also sold poorly and was critically ravaged. But unlike Marvin Gaye, don't count on this one getting a cult following.
Kind of a cheap shot.
At who? Robin Thicke? He doesn't even know we exist. So, Teddy, while I look over the papers that Robin Thicke's lawyer sent us, why don't you tell us about the song? Oh God, we're ruined.
This song is called I'll Write an Album for You Someday, My Darling.
It features a young Marvin Gaye foreshadowing the making of Hear My Dear to an unsuspecting Anna. While courting her, he claims that someday he will dedicate an entire record to her, rather than just writing singles, and will share his love for her with all the world. This prediction ultimately comes true. However, unbeknownst to Marvin and Anna, it will be under very different circumstances than they likely would have hoped for.
Yeah, sounds good. Do you know any good lawyers? How am I supposed to know what an asset is?
Sit back and enjoy I'll Write an Album for You Someday, My Darling.
Okay, we're moving to Cuba and changing our identities. We'll need new names. Marvin Gaye. Oh, shit, that's no good. How about Teddy Gray? Oh no, that's your name already! Oh God, how am I so bad at this?
I'll write an album for you someday, my darling. I'll write an album for you someday, my dear. But we'll settle for the singles while we have to. Cause that's all the label wants now. And I ain't got the clout round here. But I'll write an album for you someday, my darling. No matter how long it takes, I swear I'll make it true. 5 years, 10 years down the line, I'll still be yours, you'll still be mine. And then it will be time to write my sweet for you. And Anna, you're my girl, and I I'll commit my love to vinyl when I can. And you're only 17 years ahead of me. Now go tell your little brother to give me a chance.
So he hits the studio 15 years later to make the record solely for his wife. Cause Marvin never wants a chance to be free. He's gotta find a way to pay the alimony. And then he'll move on to his new life
And my new high school sweetheart. See, the judge said I could give you all the proceeds. So I figured I'd just kinda half-ass it, you know. Out of spite. But that felt wrong, and soon enough my darling inspiration struck. Instead I really tried to do it right. So have no fear, my dear. Album's here, my dear. And I'm pouring out my soul here just for you. Cause Anna, you were my girl, and I will tell all the world and share every little detail of what we've been through. Always said I'd write an album just for you. Just didn't know it'd be like this. I hope you like it. It's 80 minutes long.
The great failed romances of the 20th century. Someone's gotta show you how they went down. The great failed romances of the 20th century. You can learn the truth if you just stick around.